Christine Anderson,
Yes.
as a member of the ID group and close to the elections now. How is the debate, the climate here in the parliament at the moment?
Well, we've been noticing in the last months, they are kind of concerned, if not to say they're a little scared, because they are beginning to realize that the national conservative parties, we will pick up in numbers and we will move into this EU Parliament in even stronger numbers than before. And they probably have figured out by now they may not be able to pass all of this ideological nonsense that they've been working on in terms of gender mainstreaming, this gender ideology, climate idiocy, I would like to call it. So yeah, they're quite concerned, and kind of like explains all the campaigns they're launching at us at this moment to pretty much prevent us from growing in numbers, but we will.
What is your view on the development of the EU in general?
Well, in general, it's a madhouse. I mean, seriously, this parliament is not a parliament in the regular sense. So we don't even decide anything. We vote on resolutions, which is pretty much, a beggar's letter we are sending to EU Commission, saying, well, it would be really nice if you could do this, that, or the other. But we have no competence to do anything pretty much. Whatever the EU Commission decides to do, they will do. And the things they decide not to do, they will not do. It's as simple as that. So this parliament is really just a democracy illusion, a simulation, if you want, to pretty much suggest to people that this is actually a democratic parliament, which it isn't.
Yeah, there's a lot of voices that's been raising the fact there's a shift of the power going on here. Is that a development you agree with?
Shift of power in terms of what? Anything specific in mind?
Well, there is some from the right talking about the centralization of the power.
Oh yeah, that is going on. And as I said,
do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. I absolutely do, because people, they are beginning to realize that the EU institutions, they have not been structured or built to represent the interest of the people. They're pretty much, the EU institutions are pretty much by the globalitarian elites for the globalitarian misanthropists, I will have to say. So it's not about the people, it's about other interests, like big companies' interests. We've seen that in the whole COVID madness, right? Pharmaceutical companies, I mean, we literally shoved down their throats billions and billions and billions of euros. And so they get to keep all of that. And the damage that so-called vaccine caused, the people are left with that. So yeah, it has nothing to do with serving in the interest of the people.
But there's still some people saying that it's just like conspiracy theories.
Oh yeah, of course. But one thing is this. I mean, it's so many conspiracy theories just from the last 4 or 5 years that have turned out to be true. We probably have to come up with new conspiracy theories, which then will turn out to be true. So this whole framing of things as being conspiracy theories, that is just their ridiculous attempt to get people to not even listen to it. So to discredit it from the get-go, but it's not working anymore. Like I said, so many things have been uncovered and have been exposed as being the truth, rather than it being a conspiracy theory.
But can you give us a more specific example where
yeah, of course.
EU has grabbed more power?
Well, we've grabbed more power. Well, where we could see it was in the COVID special committee. So we were really able to uncover a lot of lies. We exposed all of the narratives about this mRNA injection being safe and effective, which it wasn't. Then it was claimed this mRNA injection, it saved 20 million lives. It's a blatant lie. That is a number that then the representative of EMA, she actually had to admit to it. That number pertains to all vaccines ever in history, but we were just talking about the mRNA injection. So it's a blatant lie when you say it saved 20 million lives. On the contrary, the mRNA injections, they may have very well killed 17 million people around the world. So there is nothing safe and effective about it. They never even tested that stuff. So, yeah.
So, what do you want to do to change this power balance between the member states and the EU?
Well, continue to do what we have been doing, exposing it, and not playing nice ball anymore, because they are not, playing nicely with us. So why should we? No, just continue to speak our truth and to expose their fake news, actually, because the EU Commission is actually the headquarters of fake news. Just keep exposing that. What we do need from the people, though, however, is they need to change their voting behavior. Because if they continue voting for the same parties that got us in this fix in the first place, we will never be able to get out of it. So, but I'm quite confident that we will, like I said, grow in numbers. And we are not going to have a majority this time around, but maybe next time around, who knows? Because the truth is with us, and the truth is on our side, and people are beginning to realize that.
Yeah, you were mentioning the rise of the European right. Is this a trend you can see also in Germany?
Yeah, we can see that in Germany. Even though I will have to say in the Western democracies, it is a little more difficult to grow in numbers. But when you're looking at the Eastern European countries, for example, they're having huge numbers now. I mean, in the polls, when you look at the numbers, it's really quite remarkable. And the reason is as simple that people remember what it feels like, what it looks like to live in totalitarianism, and they just recognize the signs, because it hasn't been that long that they actually did live in a totalitarian state. So they do see it, they recognize the signs, and they've become actually much wiser than we have been in the Western democracies.
Yeah, the AfD, isn't that considered now as the second largest
exactly.
party
In the Eastern German states, in some we are even leading in the polls. And we're quite strong there. Because like I said, people remember. They see it and they feel it. And they know exactly what's going on. And they are not gaslighted into thinking, it's all about democracy and freedom, which it isn't. So, they're...
But what would you like to say to those who still see AfD as a threat to democracy?
Well, what I would say to them is, wasn't there a promise that we gave, never again? But when you look at it, the ones that say never again or fight the beginnings, they wouldn't recognize fascism or totalitarianism if it jumped up and bit them in their faces. So a government that is gaslighting its citizens, that is lying to its citizens, to get them to take an mRNA injection, for instance, or that is locking the people in their houses because of some virus that might kill them, even though they just want to go for a walk all by themselves in the woods, in the forest, it is not telling you the truth. And that's not a legitimate government. And in terms of that, be critical. Think about what are they actually trying to do. And just because a government claims that they have your best interests at heart take a long and good and hard look. What are they really after? And what might be their ulterior motives? And always ask cui bono, right? Who benefits?
What would you say is the biggest challenges ahead for the right?
The biggest challenge is actually the absurd situation that our once free press no longer is a free press. They are not reporting anymore on what is. They are pretty much lecturing to the people what they ought to think, how things should be, and pretty much telling them, and you should not, speak out against any of what we just told you, because then you would be a bad person. So rather than controlling the government, which would be their job actually, they're pretty much spreading the government's narrative. They're doing the job for the government pretty much, all the while lecturing and stigmatizing people that might be of a different opinion on that.
And with the EU elections around the corner, what can you say about the ID group's election promises? How do they look like?
Well, that's really kind of difficult, because we're with different parties from different national member states. So what we can say is we will always fight for freedom, democracy, and the rule of law, and we will, pretty much fight for our national and our cultural identity, so that we are not stripped of that. And apart from that, I mean, in different member states, you have different issues that need to be discussed there. So, but that's up to the respective member states to do that. But the bottom line for us is freedom, democracy, and the rule of law.
Record levels of immigration to Europe is now a fact, but the EU Commissioner Ylva Johansson says that we have to let them in. What do you think about that statement?
That's a ridiculous and stupid statement. I'm sorry. Why do we have to let them in? I mean, it's like the same as, saying to a family, there's people outside your door and you have to let them in. No, you shut your door and you make sure no one comes into your house that is not supposed to be there, right? I mean, there is no way in the world that a family would take in, just whoever. And once they realize that their own family, like the kids and the wife maybe, they're not safe in the house anymore, then no one in their right mind would put up cameras, surveillance cameras, right? No, they would just open the door, kick everyone out who doesn't belong in the house, and lock the freaking door. That's what they would do. Why should it be any different when it comes to a state border? That's the very same thing. So no, we don't have to let everyone in. No, we don't. We get to choose, actually.
So what are the proposals on migration from the ID group?
Well, at this point, it's quite clear. We cannot handle any more so-called refugees. It's impossible. We see it in all of the countries. They are maxed as far as capacity is concerned. And truth be told, we are not in a position to provide any of these people with a perspective in the future. So we have to stop this. Yeah, we have to close our borders. I understand the point of view of the people that are coming. They are in search for a better life. I understand that, and I'm very sympathetic towards that motivation. And if I were in their shoes, I probably would do the same thing. I have the problem with my government, with the EU Commission or the German government. They're supposed to stand for our best interest, for the interest of the German people, and not everyone else's interest. So they need to put a stop to it, and they are the ones that are responsible for us, and they are the ones that we need to hold accountable. And as long as they are not acting in the best interest of the people, then I'm sorry. Then it is not a government that I would want to be in power any longer.
In the beginning of this week, Great Britain voted yes to the solution or the law making it possible to send immigrants to Rwanda during their asylum process. Do you think we will see something similar in Europe, in EU in the future?
Highly doubt it. I highly doubt it. So whatever they're doing now, obviously, even voting on that migration pact, just the last plenary week, yeah, we are right before elections. So they will do whatever they can to pretty much calm down the people. Look, we're doing something, we're kind of, putting a stop to it. But they're not really doing that. So it's pretty much just, giving the people the sleeping pill, go back to sleep. Don't even look too closely. But after June 9th, trust me, everything will be forgotten. And we've seen the same thing with when the farmer protests really, were big and, started flaring up. Then all of a sudden, Ursula von der Leyen, the president of the EU Commission, she had this brilliant idea, to roll back, the provisions of the Green Deal that really highly affected the farmers. Don't believe a word she is saying. Don't. She is doing this now. She will make promises, whatever she has to do to stay in power. And once again, it will all be forgotten once we write June 10th. It will all be forgotten.
Thank you, Christine Anderson, for answering my questions.
Thank you so much.